You are Locked On Warriors POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors POSTCAST. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And tonight, the Golden State Warriors remain undefeated in the Jimmy Butler era as they now have won back-to-back games on this long road trip, with tonight's win coming over the Milwaukee Bucks. And although they didn't have Giannis Antetokounmpo, the win tonight felt big for the Warriors as they look totally different with the addition of Jimmy Butler. And this is a good team that they beat tonight. Steph Curry again looked like the best version of himself and had another game of 30-plus points. That's now 4 in a row for Steph. And the balance on offense that Jimmy Butler has provided this Warriors team is undeniable. The team chemistry looks better than it has in months, and the Warriors got some momentum building. We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed, making us your first listen following these Dubs games. Make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors daily show for more in-depth coverage. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And tonight, man, I hope you made that first $5 bet on like Steph Curry over for the points, or Jimmy Butler over for the points, or the Warriors over for the points, or the Warriors to cover, because tonight they did all those things. Like the Warriors just, took it to the Bucks tonight. And yes, they didn't have Giannis, but I mean, this game might be the most impressive win of the Warriors season. And I know that they beat OKC twice, and the last time that they beat OKC was particularly impressive. But the way that they won this game, it wasn't wire to wire. The Bucks did briefly take a lead there in the third quarter. The Bucks also had an early lead in the first half of that first quarter. But the way that the Warriors controlled this entire game, like never at any point did you feel like the Warriors were going to have to go on some crazy run to take control of this game. You felt like methodically they were doing what they needed to do to really just dictate how this went, dictate the tempo, the flow, the pace. They were getting everything they wanted offensively. You had guys, Jimmy Butler, the way that he just dictates the tempo is just a blessing for this team, because it was something that this team could not do before with the way the roster was constructed. You had so many guys, just the way that Steph was getting defended, so many guys just running at him 24/7. This team's offense never really got in sync, got in a rhythm, and it felt like they were just in scramble mode 24/7. Like the Warriors were never really, running the plays they wanted to run or doing what they wanted to do to their opponent. The defense was kind of dictating what they would do with the ball on offense. And now, man, this looks so much different. This looks like the Warriors of old. They are doing exactly what they want to do on offense. The spacing is there. They're working from the inside out, even though they don't have a bunch of bigs. It's working. Jimmy Butler gives you everything that Steph doesn't. They talked about it at length in the post-game interviews, not from tonight, but in their last game, where they basically just said opposites attract, and we saw more of that tonight. Jimmy rarely taking threes, and Steph, 6 of 16, not the best shooting night we've seen from Steph, but we'll still take it. 6 of 16 isn't a terrible number of threes, but Jimmy only takes 2 threes, scores 20 points, and that is something that this Warriors team has missed so much. Is they need someone that can score inside, and they finally have that in Jimmy Butler. And the way that Jimmy Butler gets his points, also, like, he didn't have the best night from the field. He was only 4 of 12 from the field, but it's the free throws, man. Another 15 free throws for Jimmy Butler tonight. There's the last time he had 13 in his debut. The last guy to have consecutive games for the Warriors with 13 or more free throws in back-to-back games, that was Kevin Durant. That is the level of balance that Jimmy Butler gives this offense. It's the piece they were missing, to have one other guy out there alongside Steph who can go get a shot anytime he wants. And even when the shot's not falling, he can manufacture some points. He can get to the free throw line. He can find that open guy. How many times the assists from Jimmy Butler tonight? I did not know. I've been a fan of Jimmy Butler for a long time, just kind of passively watching him out here in the Bay Area while he's been in Chicago and in Miami. But I didn't realize how great of a passer this guy was. I got to say, I've been sleeping on the Jimmy Butler passes. I mean, the interior passing that I saw from him tonight, the way that when the Bucks dropped into that zone and they would have Brook Lopez, who is, a formidable shot blocker there in the post, and Jimmy would just drag him away from the hoop just enough so he could dump it underneath to Draymond Green or to Kevon Looney or to any number of bigs that he was able to drop those little dump off passes to in the lane. It worked so well over and over and over. Jimmy had 6 assists tonight. He also had 9 boards to go with those 20 points. But additionally, in addition to all these things, I mean, look at how active he is on defense. And it is infectious, man. I mean, he and Draymond, Jimmy kind of mentioned this in his extensive post-game interview in their last time out as well. But Draymond is basically telling Jimmy where to be at all times on the floor, especially on the defensive end. And, you see Draymond always, pointing, directing traffic out there. But with Jimmy, especially on the floor right now, you see it kind of like happening at a higher degree than usual. And Jimmy said that he's super thankful to Draymond for this because he doesn't really know the plays. He doesn't really know what he's doing. He's just out there hooping, running alongside these guys. And one, that's a very good thing for the Warriors. We'll get to that in a minute. But two, look at the way that he's playing defense alongside Draymond Green. And these guys don't even have their chemistry fully synced up yet on the defensive side of the ball. Jimmy Butler had 4 steals tonight. Draymond Green had 5. I mean, the Warriors as a whole had 16 steals. That is absolutely bonkers, the way they're getting into these passing lanes. And that's kind of what helps them. I mean, you want the team to have a legitimate big. Speaking of legitimate bigs, Quentin Post, man, we got to talk about him a little bit later on in the postcast. Those big threes that he hit there in the fourth quarter, huge for the Warriors. But I mean, the defense, first and foremost, is just outstanding, blowing my mind the way that this team is able to hold down other teams with this current. I mean, it's only been 2 games since Jimmy Butler's been added to the team, but the way that they get into these passing lanes and disrupt other teams' offenses, it really makes it hard to work the ball into the paint, into the interior. They're doing a great job of fronting these bigger guys in the post, and they're just denying these guys the ball in the paint. And the Warriors have done an excellent, excellent job at kind of filling in those gaps to make sure that not having that big shot blocker down in the post doesn't really hurt you too bad. And just the effort, the want to on defense. Like, I mean, I do watch the NBA Today show on ESPN kind of a lot. I actually really enjoy the addition of Udonis Haslem. I like Haslem as a broadcaster. I did not expect that from him in his post playing career, but he's just a guy who's been around the league forever. He was a grit and grind guy out there in Miami, just an easy guy to like. And the one thing he says often is that defense is all about effort and desire and want to. And man, you cannot watch these Warriors games right now and tell me that effort, that desire, that want to is the same as it was just a week or 2 ago. Because a week or 2 ago, I was watching this team just give up on defense. I mean, you would have a turnover and guys would just start walking back and just let the other team just run them out of the building. Think about that Lakers game, man. That last game before Jimmy got added to this team. How many damn runouts did the Lakers have in that game? How many fast break points did they just dump on the Warriors' head in that game? You aren't seeing that now. You are seeing guys get back. You are seeing guys sell out. Nothing is more telling to me than that play where Draymond Green just kind of gave up that inexplicable turnover. He just gave it right to the Milwaukee Bucks defender, just passed it right to him. And I mean, going back the other way, Draymond's like the 3rd or 4th Warrior to get across half court. And somehow he sprints all the way to the corner to block the Gary Trent Jr. 3-point attempt from the corner and send it out of bounds. And I mean, I think we were all just as shocked as Gary Trent Jr. to see Draymond be able to make up that much ground right now. At this point in the season with those knees, man, I mean, Draymond got up for that shot block. And I mean, that's all heart. That's all desire. That's all effort. That's all want to. And that's all because Jimmy Butler is a Golden State Warrior, and this team believes. And there is honestly nothing more scary in the NBA than a team led by Stephen Curry that believes that they can do some damage in the playoffs. I mean, I know they didn't have Giannis. We got to keep saying that, but the Milwaukee Bucks are 18-9 at home. Without Giannis on their team, their metrics basically say they're the 2nd best 3-point shooting team in the NBA. Now, tonight, the Warriors did a good job running them off that line. The Bucks only hit 30% of their threes. They hit 10 of them. But Taurean Prince, I mean, this guy started off so hot. He went 5 of 7 from the three-point line. 19 points for him, and this could have been an avalanche, but the Warriors did a great job of limiting others' damage. Damian Lillard had 38, don't get me wrong, but 3 of 9 from three-point, they never really got him going from out there. He was 12 of 20 from the field, so he did shoot a decent percentage from the floor, but the Warriors as a whole did a great job on everybody else on this Bucks team, on this Bucks offense, limiting the scoring. Kyle Kuzma had 21, Taurean Prince 19, and Dame 38. Every other Buck in single figures. So the Warriors didn't let guys like Brook Lopez hurt them. They didn't let guys like Bobby Portis hurt them. They didn't let Pat Connaughton come in and get hot, or Gary Trent Jr. come in and get hot. They stopped all of these guys from getting any kind of momentum going, and it really, really, really helped out this team going down the stretch. And of course, the big time shot making from Steph Curry, from Jimmy Butler, and from our guy Quinton Post, who, by the way, I heard Tim Roy referred to Quinton Post as the Dutch Master the other day, and as a 420th myself, I just 100% have to endorse that nickname. That we're calling Quinton Post from now on the Dutch Master. I don't want to hear any other suggestions for nicknames. We got it nailed down. Quinton, the Dutch Master Post. We got to talk about him and his huge, massive, just onions three-pointer, if you know what I'm talking about. The two of them that he hit in that fourth quarter just completely changed the outlook of this game. Let's talk about that next here on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is sponsored by Skims. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try. And let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with underwear, fit, comfort, or just finding the right style for me. Look at my body. Look how weirdly proportioned I am. Skims changed all of that. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I tried the Skims boxer brief, and I'm hooked. These are perfect for my active lifestyle. They move with me, never lose their shape, and stay in place all day. Whether I'm working out or just running errands, up on the mountain snowboarding, whatever I'm doing, they're the most comfortable and reliable underwear I've ever owned. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com and Skims stores. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show from the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gift for your Valentine or for yourself, Skims just launched their best Valentine shop ever, available in sizes for women, men, kids, and even pets. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Tonight, the Warriors a really, really, really good win over the Milwaukee Bucks, 125-111. And Jimmy Butler, man, what we have spent a long time on the show just gushing about Jimmy Butler, how he balances this offense, the free throws, the pace, the effort on defense. He has just revitalized this team in every way that they needed it, and the balance that he gives, and just in general, man. I am so hyped about this team and the way that it's constructed right now. Just taking a look at the chat, my guy Orlando saying, "Let's go Warriors." I'm so hyped about this Jimmy Butler trade addition. I think that the Dubs are actually brewing here. They got something cooking. They're building some momentum. I'm checking the chat still, and still seeing people saying the team needs a center. Freno saying that the team needs a center. And my guy, dude, did you not just see what Quinton Post did tonight? There are nights to advocate for the Warriors to go out and get a 7-footer. And then there are nights to appreciate the guys that are on this roster. And tonight is one of the nights to appreciate who's on the roster, because look at what Quinton Post did, my guy. This dude, he did not start tonight. He's been getting a nice little stretch of starts lately. Tonight they went with Buddy Hield and Moses Moody in the starting lineup. And I will say, although I have been one of Buddy Hield's biggest haters in the last couple months, I will say I got to eat my words a little bit. With the addition of Jimmy, Buddy has looked a lot better too. He had another 16 points tonight, plus 11 in the plus minus. He was very, very good in 30 minutes for the Warriors, shot near 50% from the field. But Quinton Post, man, in 15 minutes, this guy scores 13 points, 3 of 4 from three-point land, and 2 of those threes came on back-to-back possessions when the score was 92-90, and Quinton Post rails back-to-back three-pointers. Man, just onions, the cojones on this guy. He hasn't even played 20 NBA games yet in his career, and he's out here taking and making key clutch shots down the stretch against a playoff team, against a team that, Doc Rivers has said that he thinks the Bucks can go win the East, and the Warriors just handled them. And I know they didn't have Giannis. That's a totally different team when they have Giannis, who's MVP level, talent, the wet dream for every Warriors fan ever to get him to come to Golden State and play alongside Steph. That is just the ultimate match made in heaven that we will very likely never, ever, ever see. But hey, with Jimmy Butler, I'm not saying Jimmy's Giannis, but he does a lot of those same things that you would like for him to do. He gives you a lot of that same balance as we've been talking about on this show. But also Quentin Post really helps with that balance, right? You see the difference. He's not he's not a stonewall, stalwart center when it comes to defense. He's not, he's not just shutting things down. He's not Anthony Davis down there on the block. He's not, Ben Wallace. He's not going to just ruin the other team's game offensively in the post, but he's got some movement. He's sturdy. He's a pretty solidly built guy, and he moves his feet pretty well. I like the way that he switches. He communicates very effectively. You always see this guy pointing and yelling and talking. Probably the only guy who does that more on this team when communicating on defense is Draymond Green, but he communicates at that, that frequency as much as Draymond does. Maybe not the same effectiveness, but he's out there talking with his guys. He's always in the right position. He's rarely out of position on defense. And man, the pick and roll game with him and Steph, it's going to work. And especially when you can start to add in another player like Jimmy, who we've seen some clips from Warriors practice of the Warriors working on a pick and roll with Jimmy and Steph, with Steph being the screener. So that's something that I'm interested to see happen going forward. But just the creativity that you can get with a guy like Quentin Post, who's a big, who can shoot threes and is a nightmare to cover on the perimeter. You saw it he had another three that was very nice, where he caught the ball on the perimeter, gave a little pump fake in transition, watched the defender just fly by him, took a little step to his right, one dribble, and knocked it down. It looked very Steph Curry-like. And with these guys on the court at the same time, it opens everything up. And especially, Jimmy Butler able to get points in the interior also helps open things up. But when you have multiple guys who are legitimate three-point threats, which I think Quentin Post at this point, you got to respect the game. Yeah, he started the year in the G League, but dude is dropping in threes at the NBA level. You got to give it to him. He has been playing better than anybody has expected. The Dutch master, Quentin Post, really delivering for the Warriors, as Bob likes to point out on every single Warriors broadcast, almost every time that he makes a bucket. He was the 52nd pick in the draft, and this guy has been so good for the Warriors. And yes, he is not Nikola Jokic. Yes, he is not, the Lakers used to have Anthony Davis, but not anymore. He's not Chet Holmgren. He's not, these top tier teams in the West all have just dominant centers. You look at the Grizzlies, who are in that category as well. They got Jaren Jackson Jr. I don't think I'm not delusional enough to sit here and say that he is going to equalize these players, and that he's the same caliber guy as these guys. He's not. He's a very, very different player, has a completely different game than all these guys. You look at Jaren Jackson Jr. and Quentin Post and tell me that these two guys are going to play basketball the same. I'm going to tell you to get your eyes checked, because one of these guys is ultra athletic and can jump out of the building, and the other one has a pretty sweet shot from 3-point range, but doesn't really have the vertical or the 40 time to match. But it doesn't matter. It's effective either way, and what he gives up on the defensive end, he kind of makes up for a little bit with his 3-point shooting. And he's not going to be a 30-minute a game, 35-minute a game, a showstopper on the interior who's going to just take the other team's center like a Nikola Jokic or a Chet Holmgren and just go one-on-one with them and dominate them. You're going to need to figure out a way to slow those guys down. And you still got Kevon Looney, you still got TJD. Those guys can help with that. But yeah, the Warriors are still a little small on the interior. But again, what we saw tonight from the Warriors with all of these steals, 16 steals, and the way that they denied entry passes all night long, getting their hands into passing lanes, front and big man. They just played Brook Lopez. It's not like this guy's small. Brook Lopez, one of the biggest centers still in the NBA, and they limited him to just 6 points and 4 rebounds. It's not like he even had a very big impact on this game at all. They neutralized him. They bound him out of position on defense numerous times, and their counter was to go small to the to the big lineup of the Milwaukee Bucks. And that is something that we have seen the Warriors do with success in years past. This is not new for Steve Kerr. He is absolutely good enough to be able to draw something up like that. And maybe the Warriors can take down one of these teams that are above them in the West. I mean, it would be a long shot. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like I'm expecting the Warriors to go into a 7-game series where Denver has home court and beat the Nuggets. I mean, that would still be a massive upset. That would be a shock. But it's not nearly as insane or harebrained or a pipe dream as it was pre-Jimmy Butler. Like, with Jimmy, you can actually start to see a scenario where the Warriors can maybe beat one of these teams, where they can maybe climb. They said their goal is to get to the 6th seed by the end of the season. I mean, with the last 2 games going the way that they've gone, is that completely out of the question? Like, it sounds insane. But given the way that they've been playing, is it impossible? No, it's not. So the Warriors have so much faith and belief, seem to have so much faith and belief in themselves right now. And I wouldn't bet against a team that has Steph Curry and belief. I absolutely would not. And I mean, Jimmy Butler also, helps a lot, being one of the greatest closers in the NBA. You have 2 of the greatest closers in modern NBA history on the same team, and that is a luxury to have. I mean, look at the way that the end of this game went compared to how the ends of games have gone the rest of the season. The Warriors outscore the Bucks 36-28 there in that 4th quarter. And I mean, they played so many clutch minutes games, and they have been so erratic in each and every one of these games. You don't know how it's going to go. Every single one seems to have like a little different wrinkle to it. But, with Jimmy Butler on this roster, you kind of know what's going to happen. He's going to slow things down. He's going to go work inside. He's going to get to the paint. Steph's going to shoot those open threes, and you're going to have to leave Steph open because you're going to have damage being done inside in the paint with Jimmy Butler. And you also have all this pressure taken off all of the role players. Buddy Hield, Moses Moody, Quentin Post, these guys are all going to get open shots, even more open shots than they've been getting. Like, you put Steph Curry with these guys, those guys are going to get open shots. You put Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler with those guys, they're going to see nothing but open looks for the entire game. And that's what you're seeing. All these Warriors role players stepping up in a big way with the addition of Jimmy Butler as well. He has made everybody on this team better. Man, I'm elated to see the way that the Warriors have played these last 2 games. It is, reinvigorated me in doing the show. I think it's reinvigorated this Warriors fan base. And guess what? They're not even at full strength yet. You got Jonathan Kuminga hanging around, ready to make a return pretty soon. We'll talk about the Kuminga update and more on the other side of the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is sponsored by FanDuel, and when the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because with FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a 4th quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Tonight, the Warriors handle business in Milwaukee, take down the Bucks 125-111. By the way, they forced Dame Lillard into 10 turnovers tonight, a career high. We talked a lot about the Warriors steals. Damian Lillard, 10 turnovers. I mean, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. Damian Lillard, who of course wears the number 0, but it's not really the number 0. It's the letter O, as he says, for Oakland. The Oakland, California native loves playing against Steph, and just, it's not a game here back in Golden State, so it didn't have as much juice for Dame, I didn't think, as it normally does. But you know that every time he goes toe-to-toe with Steph, that he is looking to prove something. And maybe he was pressing a little bit tonight. He did have a lot of points, Damian Lillard did. He had 38 to match Steph Curry's 38, which led the way for the Warriors, which we need to talk a little more about Steph in this show. We're in the last 5 minutes of our show, and we barely talked about Steph Curry, man. This Warriors team is so exciting that we have so many other things to talk about right now, but we will get to Steph. But first, I want to give you all a little Jonathan Kuminga update. The Warriors did announce today that he is looking good, that the progress is being made. He's expected to start practicing or participating in team practices after the All-Star break, which is Sunday right here in San Francisco at Chase Center. And Steve Kerr said himself, I wouldn't anticipate him playing those first few games right after the break. But, he could make his return quickly after that. And any additional firepower for this Warriors team really could put them over the top. And you have the luxury now with Jimmy being in the starting lineup that you can leave Kuminga on the bench. You can let this guy run that second unit and when Kuminga is at his best, it's when he's unbridled and he's allowed to just play free-flowing basketball. And it's hard for him to kind of change his game up to fit into what guys like Steph do. Their games seem like they would mesh. They seem like they would mesh, kind of like how Jimmy and Steph just meshed instantly. It's the inside-out pairing. And for whatever reason, it hasn't quite worked out the same way with Kuminga as it has in these last two games with Jimmy. But what Kuminga can do really well is when he's out there with the second unit, and he's clearly the most athletic, most physically gifted player on the court, he can just start running up and down and getting all these points in transition, getting all these points in the paint. He's averaging 16.8 this season, which is a career high. And this guy, Kuminga, has so much raw, untapped scoring ability. Like, he is just so naturally gifted as a scorer with the body angles and everything that he just feels when he's got the ball in his hands near the rim. If this guy can just refine just a little bit, just refine the fundamentals, the shooting touch, he will be a dominant force in this league. And he now has, just all the freedom in the world to be able to work on every single one of those things and be the number one option when he's out there on the court. And while that might not be with the starters, we know the non-Steph minutes are incredibly important with this Warriors team. And Jonathan Kuminga can be that life raft to keep you afloat in those non-Steph minutes. And I'm excited to see what this Warriors team looks like when he comes back. I think that a team with Jonathan Kuminga that is already rolling, and then you get to add this guy back into the mix, that is a dangerous, dangerous team. And we said we'd talk about him. Steph Curry, 38 points. Again, another game with 30-plus points tonight. He becomes just the fourth player in NBA history to have, over the age of 36, to have 4 consecutive games of 30-plus points. And it's no coincidence that, again, it's happened after the addition of Jimmy Butler to this team. The balance that he adds is insane, is perfect, exactly what the Warriors needed. As they both said in the postgame a couple days ago, opposites attract. And that's where they're at right now. And the Warriors, again, could be getting Jonathan Kuminga back shortly after the All-Star break, and that will just elevate this team to another level. And you start to look at the roster or the lineup combinations that the Warriors can use, different starting fives that they can roll out there, and they can match up pretty well across the board with a lot of different teams in the NBA. I really, really, really like what the Warriors are doing right now. And it sounds crazy to think that they could maybe climb all the way up to the 6th seed, but you look at the teams that are ahead of them, and you got a chance to make up some of these games. The Suns, not playing the best basketball in the world right now. The Kings trading away De'Aaron Fox. The Mavericks, a little bit of a disarray right now in Dallas post Luka Doncic trade. Anthony Davis goes down and is out for maybe the next month. The Warriors are looking up at a lot of vulnerable teams right now, and the Warriors are getting some momentum themselves. So if they keep rolling, if Curry keeps going on the roll that he's going on, and I don't know if Curry's really going to slow down. Like, this guy looks so happy to be playing alongside Jimmy Butler. I have not seen Steph look this happy in a basketball game in over a full calendar year. We've been doing this show now for over a year. We started last year in February, at the very beginning of February. And in the entire time I've been doing these shows, I've never seen Steph be more happy than he is right now. This looks like a 2022 Steph when he's out there on the court, just having fun and just playing with joy. And you've heard Jimmy say that he found his joy back again for playing basketball here in Golden State, playing alongside Steph Curry. So while these two guys are feeling it the way they are, I wouldn't bet against them, man. I absolutely would not. This team has something going. I know it's only 2 games, but you can't convince me that these last 2 games are just like any other 2 games the Warriors have won this season. They have looked totally different. The balance is just insane to look at on offense. It is something they have missed all season long. It is perfectly balanced. I mean, absolutely perfectly balanced on offense, and the defense, the effort, it's all there. All the ingredients are there for the recipe to get back to the playoffs and actually do some damage. And we'll see if they can put it all together. And you got Chef Curry stirring the pot at the helm with 4 consecutive games now of 30-plus points. I think Steph is going to continue to roll as long as he's got Jimmy Butler out here. And all these role players are going to continue to pitch in. Quentin, the Dutch master post, this guy has been such a fun development. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to go toe-to-toe with Jokic and Holmgren and AD and whoever else in the playoffs and just shut him down. But he's got something. Don't count this rookie out. The 52nd pick in the NBA draft, given the Warriors a big lift in these last couple weeks. And his play has gotten even better with Jimmy added to the Warriors as well. Everybody's has, and the Warriors got some momentum going. Next up is those Dallas Mavericks that we've been talking about. Warriors play them in 2 days. So on Wednesday, they'll head over to Dallas and face Klay Thompson and the Mavs. No Anthony Davis, as we said, he is injured. And thank goodness Luka's not there, because Luka just kills the Warriors every single time. Unfortunately, we have to see him on the Lakers now, which is arguably much worse. We'll get to that another time. That's a problem for another day. But tonight, the Warriors win over the Bucks 125-111. And man, has this been fun. That's all the time that we got for you guys today. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be coming to you live on Wednesday following that Warriors-Mavs game. Tip at 6:30 p.m. It is on ESPN and NBC Sports Bay Area. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.